Yo, it's your man Fellow Frog, and today's video we're gonna get ready for the big race to be the very best of yourselves. Let's get this started and let's tackle those items. First, I want to get a few items out of the way. Highly recommended not to use in your everyday build. Okay, let's get started with Rocky Helmet. And this is straight up be put off that list. So eventually, once you get knocked off 10% of your health, you do a little AoE damage, like kind of like a little nub. The problem here is that range is very too small, very insignificant, not much damage to be qualifying for an item that you only have for room for three slots. You know, you might as well rename this Pebble Helmet. This is you. This is the value that you bring to your team if you bring this item. Don't be like this. Don't do it. Next, let's talk about Assault Vest. You know, actually is not that bad, but it's so dependent on what your enemy team picks. Pokemon Unite's current format to pick your Pokemon and how you can't see what the enemy team chooses. This item could easily become very close to having zero value. What it does is you gain a shield against special attack damage while out of combat. The problem is that if you don't run into a special attack Pokemon, you don't have a shield at all and you just wasted a slot. Down the list, we also have Drain Crown. I mean, it looks really cool for those kings and queens out there, but this item's just not very good. Getting 10% lifesteal from basic attacks is not the stat. Like, the basic attacks is not where you want that lifesteal to be coming from. It doesn't get lifesteal from shields, and it's just not very good. I highly do not recommend this item. Let's just get that out of the way, you know. Then there's Rescue Hood. It only works its best with one Pokemon, so it's gonna look like this. Also leftovers. But think about it for just a bit. If you really want to be the best player, the best trainer, are you really gonna subject yourself to crumbs? You really gonna go to leftovers? Overall, mostly you want to place these items in the black burner with the lowest heat possible, and under the right chances you might want to add this to your plate, but honestly I just don't want you to be in a disadvantage when approaching this game or use the resources that could potentially waste your time. So off to better and bigger things. Let's follow the mindset of stacking items. They get bigger and better the more you score. Up to 6 stacks or up to 6 levels. Sounds like the move to have your stats max as possible, but if your Pokemon has trouble making consistent scoring, it may be debatable to run something else. Now let's talk about the king of stacking, attack weight. Having your attack stat raised by 12 each time you score is super beneficial for Pokemon that have good scaling or have a good burst potential. Scaling means that your stats increase based on your level, so already having good scaling with the combination of attack weight has great results to your numbers. To be honest, most physical Pokemon fit into this category, but noticeably Snorlax doesn't really work well with this item. And for the example of the burst potential, we definitely have Decidueye's Spirit Shackle, Cinderace's Power Ball, and Green Ninja's Surf. In addition, some abilities or moves come from your stats, so going back to Lucario, his passive ability to gain a shield when his health is lower than 50% is based off his attack stat. So higher his attack, the better your shield will be. Let's keep going with the scaling items and talk about Eos Cookie. Has been on the come up. The ability to raise your max HP by 200 each score is insane. This works really well that Pokemon that have moves that heal your Pokemon back after being low, with Snorlax and Slowbro being good examples of this. Also, some squishies can definitely benefit from that max HP increase, allowing them to survive a little bit more and cause more havoc to the battlefield to their opponents. Keep in mind, these Pokemon can afford a slot in the cookie without losing too much power. But next, we definitely gotta talk about special specs. Unfortunately, this item has been overshadowed by better options and that have been released in further Pokemon Unite's lifespan, but it still very much has its uses. For the healing squads for Pokemon Unite, your healing is based off your special attack stat. So increasing it will definitely get you better healing totals. And you know, when the opportunity arises, when your team compositions need your tank to do a little bit more damage, special specs can be the good choice. The following examples that I gave with special specs could also be applied to attack weight as well. Okay, let's talk about what actually replaced special specs over time. This is the girl that he tells you not to worry about. Slick Spoon. It's changed the meta for sure, but it's not the spoon you want to be ice cream with. Jokes aside, this item allows enemy special defense to be ignored with your special attack. This is huge because that's how damage values work in Pokemon Unite. Depending on your attack and your opponent's defense will determine the overall damage taken by your attack. If you start to ignore the defense stat of that Pokemon, they're gonna be sweating. Now they're sweating. Now they're taking more damage from your special moves. So it definitely has become a new staple for special Pokemon since its release, and you can never go wrong to have this in your builds. Next on the list will definitely be Wise Glasses and Choice Specs. I put them under the same category because they overall do increase your special attack, but Choice Specs to be more in favor due to having more burst potential and how important it is to getting the last hits on wild Pokemon. I think overall you want to run the Choice Specs. Wise Glasses does have its moments with particular moves and with certain Pokemon, but I will show you later how you can see that information. But overall, for damage builds, you want to go full special attacks. This is definitely the holy trinity. Now it's time to get physical. Muscle Band is top dog because it's a universal item. It can be used on non-physical and physical Pokemon because your auto attacks for every Pokemon is based on your physical stat, and this increases the attack speed of your auto attacks. So good mentions I would love to mention, or good mentions would be Venusaur's Penitence, Eldegoss, and Hoopa overall, and Ninetales Auroraville moveset will definitely be good mentions. So you do get a little bit of more chip damage. You get a 3% off the target's remaining HP, so it does a little more damage. Then Rapid Scarf came in, and now we have two options of attack speed. So how do you look between these two? Do you in favor of more attack than your attack speed? Then you want to go Muscle Band. If you favor more of attack speed, then you would want to go to Rapid Scarf. So the way Rapid Scarf works is that after you auto attack 3 times within 3-second intervals, so let's just say you have 3 seconds in between each auto attack, and once you do all 3, you basically become a mini shooting machine gun just for a short bit. But it is on a 10-second cooldown, but it's so good for DPS. Most attack range Pokemon are going to run these two together to have their max value. Although it is a good mention that Pokemon or particular moves are better with one or the other, which I will get in later in the video how you could find that out. Trust me, we're getting there. Okay, so now we have Razor Claw, and this is for all the burst potential of attack Pokemon. So kind of like the almost equivalent of Choice Specs, but if just for physical attackers. This Razor Claw also comes with the ability to slow down enemies by 30%. So it's really good as an engage tool, and it really brings out the burst potential. But this item is mostly for your burst melee attack Pokemon. For range Pokemon, I definitely recommend still working on the attack weight and get your burst potential there. And in addition, with those burst melee attack Pokemon, you could add attack weight with this to overall maximize your burst potential. Next on the physical list, we're going to talk about Scope Lens. It deals additional damage equal to 75% of your attack stat when dealing a critical hit with your basic attack. So it brings overall the most potential or the most value that you could get from critting. It's also good for moves that connect with your Pokemon's crit rate. Only item that increases your crit damage, so it does have some uniqueness there. And if you have high attack speed, you could definitely have more value by having more chances to land crits. The Crit Master, that's the best way I can explain it. Next, we're going to talk about tank and support. It's usually what I play in Pokemon Unite, but next on the list, we're definitely going to talk about that special item that I love, XP share, and there's a reason why I love this. If you're really about that support and tank life, I don't know why you're not running this item. Truly. So pretty much the way this item works, it just brings value to how XP is given throughout the game. So when you're running with your lane partner, you overall give 100% to the Pokemon. It doesn't matter who gets last hit, you give 100% of that wild Pokemon's XP to your lane partner, and you also get 30% of it. So overall, it just brings more value to your XP throughout the whole team. It also gives you experience points per second, depending if you're the lowest level on the team. So it's definitely more worth it to be the lowest level on the team and just making sure you're feeding and making your lane partner as healthy as possible. Is hitting their power spike early, taking over that lane. The more earlier your lane Pokemon hits their power spike, so let's talk about those EVs. You know, they go level 4, they're smacking some damage. So even if your lane partner has their power spike level 5, you're just having so much value. Also talking about your disadvantage states, if somehow you reach a point where you're not getting a single XP at all, at least once you're running XP share, whatever wild Pokemon you do get to touch, it's going to be provided the most value to your team. It's just so good to have this item. It is a reason why it's ran on every competitive team that comes from Pokemon Unite. It's just, I kind of mentioned earlier, if there's opportunities where someone is already running XP share, then maybe you want to consider doing damage. But honestly, even the opportunity of having 2 XP shares on the map is overall really good. The top lane's getting good XP, your bottom lane's getting good XP. It's just overall, I can't explain it enough, but this item is just good. So please, and also recognize that if your lane Pokemon is running XP share, just hang around it. Please, just tag along with it, and you'll get your value. Trust me, it doesn't matter who gets the last hit. Just tag along with that guy. He's helping you out more than he's helping himself, pretty much. Next on the support tank list would definitely be Focus Band. This item is just a get out of jail card. It just overall starts healing you as soon as you're reaching low health. So it automatically just brings out the most sustain that your Pokemon could provide. Your Pokemon might be already healing depending on which tank you are, or maybe what supporter you are. So it's just overall really good to have. It also could bring the potential of like displacing your enemy team. Let's say the enemy team is getting real close to killing you and they think they have the kill, but then you start healing and then they're in a really awkward spot, and then probably you go all the way back to your lane and start healing, grab some little fruits, come back stronger, and they're just in a weird position. Maybe they do the same thing, maybe they have Focus Band, and it just goes back and forth. It does come with a 90-second cooldown, so definitely just try to work with that. Maybe bring out the most potential that Focus Band saves you, or make sure you have Focus Band available during crucial times, maybe during big fights, or definitely in that Rayquaza one. There's just sometimes if you are worried that you're just not surviving when you're too low health for your attack Pokemon, sometimes Focus Band is not the right choice. You have the right philosophy, but there's just really strong moves that bring so much burst that your Pokemon might not have the chance to start healing itself back with Focus Band. So this is why it's mostly categorized for maybe your supports, your tanks, some all-rounders, and subjectively some attackers that can afford to run this. But if you're just getting knocked out so fast where Focus Band is not very useful, that's where you want to suggest maybe having a third damage item for your attackers. But overall, when you come to the line of tank and support, Focus Band is the way to go. Tie your supporter with that bandana, it'll do you great. The next tank and support item would definitely be Buddy Shield. The way this item works is once you use your ult, it provides you a shield and the lowest health teammate around you Also, not mentioning the basic number stats that come with these items. So just because I want to keep things simple, but just gonna talk about it with Buddy Shield because that's pretty much why you would want to run this item. But it definitely does have its other uses. Once your Pokemon uses ult, if it's already within the team fight, it might be beneficial for you to have an extra shield and maybe save somebody from getting knocked out. Buddy Shield is more of like a support item, definitely. So the Holy Trinity will kind of be, you know, running XP share, focus band, and Buddy Shield, and you'll be pretty much the tankiest and sustainable Pokemon that you can be. But there is different combinations that you might be running if you're a different kind of tank or supporter. The items left on this list will definitely have, at least to me personally, feel very unique to the power that it brings to you. Let's start with Score Shield. So every time you attempt to score, you gain this little shield depending on how much max HP you have. I only can envision kind of 4 Pokemon running this: Crustle and Talonflame running this. They're very fast, or they have very good potential to reaching the enemy's team's bases or goals, and making very good dunks. And with Score Shield, you're very much securing your score. The other 2 examples would be Dotrio and Sableye. The way Sableye goes invisible will definitely sneak in some score, and Dotrio is definitely already a score within itself. It's very hard to stop that Pokemon from scoring, even though it's like the way you win the game. Obviously, whoever has the most points overall wins the game, but it supports a play style that's not good as of right now. With today's meta, that scoring is not like the best approach to win your games, but it is a good item for what it does. Floatstone, you just pretty much want to picture it as the movement item. It is the item that increases your movement speed while out of combat. So it's just particularly really good if you're trying to strive for a flank mentality, or you're trying to cause some havoc on the enemy jungle, or you're very beneficial of being all over the map. You're already playing from a range, you're not always within the team fight. So like Decidueye, for example, would always want to stay back, so procting that out of combat and going all around the map would be really good. In addition, Floatstone does give the highest attack stat out of all the items. Just be very careful when you want to consider it, because just how limited those slots are with only having 3 options. Just really consider your playstyle and run Floatstone on your build. Next on the list would definitely be Weakness Policy. Upon taking damage, you do get a 3% attack buff up to 3 seconds. It stacks up to 4 times, and it's definitely, that's buff will keep going as long as you take damage. It's really good for Pokemon that already are taking damage when they're performing their moves. I would just be careful with Weakness Policy because it does activate while taking damage, but if you work around it and you work really well, it does have its moments. It does have its particular Pokemon that it's really good with. Next in the item would be Shell Bell. It is very overshadowed compared to your other items, but if you're willing to sacrifice some of your special attack and be more of a utility side and have more of a cooldown reduction, then I definitely would recommend this item. It does give you HP if you land a move successfully, but I would just keep in mind this is under a 10-second cooldown. So Shell Bell is not really it's not really known for its healing, but sometimes it just you really need that extra cooldown reduction with the combination with special attack to have your Pokemon values really be shown. Then Shell Bell is the item for you. Next on the list would definitely be Energy App. This is just the cooldown machine. It gives you cooldown reduction, and it also provides you faster ultimates. You just get more energy, take down some wild Pokemons. You're gonna notice that your ult charges faster, and you'll be able to use one of your strongest moves more often. It also does increase damage for a short time after your ultimate. I will note that having Shell Bell and Energy Amplifier are a good way to put these 2 items together and have the most cooldown reduction that you could have in your builds. It is the staple on some Pokemon, so Energy Amplifier is a really good item. Definitely recommend it if your Pokemon's move is where its power comes from, and always being able to use your moves as fast as possible would be definitely beneficial, and Energy Amplifier would be the item for that. So now that you have a good idea what all these items do, which ones are you going to use, or which one are you thinking about putting on your build, this would be my best suggestion to the approach of that question. But before that, please subscribe. It really helps a lot. And if you want to hang out, I do have a Twitch. We could definitely go over and talk about more things, or we could play together. Honestly, it's just a great time. So the answer to that question, go to your example sets of the top 3 people with that Pokemon, look at their items, and then you have a wonderful website provided by very dedicated people. It's called UniteDB. They overall give you the most meta-ish build for your Pokemon. This is also a great website to get the information that I didn't give in this video. Just get really into detail about your Pokemon. This is one of the best resources you could have as a Pokemon Unite player. So definitely just glance over that website and just read around and see what you can find. A good way to approach your build, see what pro players use, or what items are being used during tournament scenarios. And then what I would recommend is using their builds or using the builds from UniteDB to get a feel of what your Pokemon does. If you want to be more creative with your build, then that would be the right way to do it, because if you're like wondering if you're actually on some sort of theory or you're actually cooking something good, you know, definitely let yourself cook. Just ask yourself the question, do you bring out the same value by playing the recommended build or the common staple items for your particular Pokemon? So just combine all these ideas together. Take all this information and just process all that together and see what that little droplet of what that information gives you. But most importantly, just have fun and don't be afraid to express yourself with your builds either. Pretty much the goal of this video was to show you the tools that you have in your arsenal. And in Pokemon fashion, be the very best like no one ever was. So with that being said, Ribbit, take care. And I mean it. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.